Okay, again with Evie Magazine. Evie Magazine, the conservative women's magazine, online magazine. Their target audience is younger conservative women. And I usually like their content. Sometimes, though, they show themselves to be not so great. Um, and this is one of those times, in my opinion, in my belief. The title of the article, what I have for you here is something that I dug up on Grok. I don't even know if you can see it, if it's focused in on it or not, but I'll read it out loud anyway. Um, the actual article, the title of the article is "Why Does Hollywood Keep Telling Women to Pick Broke Men?" Why does Hollywood keep telling women to pick broke men? And there's a picture of it from The Materialists, which is a movie that I favorably reviewed, both here on my channel and, more importantly, on my Substack page. And it was like feminists hated it. They hated it because the woman, the woman it's about, the main woman who works for a matchmaking company. She ends up choosing to be with her ex-boyfriend, who's the struggling actor, who's out of work a lot, and really fighting to make ends meet. When she after she meets another man who's got it together, who's incredibly wealthy, and and stable, and seems like a good guy. But they have her end up choosing the broke boy over the rich boy. And man, there was a firestorm of hatred about this movie from feminists. And it was directed by, I can't remember her name now, this Korean woman who was, in defending the movie, was using all of these leftist tropes and leftist rhetoric, but was basically saying, look, materialism is not a good thing. It's not good to value materialism. It's not good to be a materialist over someone who, a spiritualist or a socialist. I just coined that. It's spelled S-O-U-L, not socialist like the political ideology. So that was interesting. A feminist director, but albeit one from a more conservative part of the world, like Korea. Although I know Korea has its weirdnesses too. Don't come at me about that. But generally speaking, more conservative. And she just makes a movie where the heroine ends up picking the man who she loves, the man who she truly wants to be with, but who she initially rejected because he was so broke, because he was just struggling to put food on the table, and she wanted more financial stability. But she goes back to him in the end. And you'd think that would be a heartwarming message, but no. The women did not like that message. Feminists did not like it at all. And it seems that Evie Magazine, even though they're, supposedly a conservative venue, they also didn't like it. And the article's behind a paywall, which is why I can't access the article directly, and I'm not about to pay for it. But what I have is the next best thing. This is a summary of the article on grok.com. Evie Magazine's article, "Why Does Hollywood Keep Telling Women to Pick Broke Men?" published December 15th, 2025, critiques a persistent romantic trope in films where women ultimately choose immature, financially unstable, or directionless men over mature, responsible, and financially secure ones. So it goes on. The author argues this narrative romanticizes quote unquote man children, broke poets, drifters, or commitment phobes as authentic and passionate, while portraying stable men as boring, controlling, or villainous. There is some truth. The thing is, there is some truth to what's being said here, but I think it has to be seen within a wider context. Okay, so they give some examples of this. One of them is the materialist, which I've already talked about. The other one is the Notebook. Allie rejects her kind, successful fiance, Lon, for the volatile, directionless no. God, they're so nice to. That's like, if you haven't got money, they're just unsparing. If you're not a Richie, if you're not a Richie Rich, they're right there with the insults. Volatile, immature, directionless. No, he's just doesn't have a ton of funds. Other mentions: Sweet Home Alabama, dumping her responsible fiance for an unambitious ex. Oh my gosh, unambitious. Say it ain't so. You want to be with an unambitious man? You want to be with a man who doesn't have ambition? Who's just content to live a simple life, a simple job, in a small town, and you don't want to be with a high roller who lives in the big city. That's what Sweet Home Alabama was about. It was. I thought it was well received. Conservative type people, received it well. They saw it as, the triumph of small town, red state values over the big city, the materialism and godlessness of the big city, for favor of the family friendly, rural values, but not now. Okay, and then other examples: Knocked Up, pairing a driven woman with an unemployed stoner. A driven woman. It's good to be driven. What is this, Evie? I thought that we were supposed to be valuing traditional femininity, but now you're saying a driven woman is. I mean, this is a summary, but from Grok, but still. And films like Garden State, High Fidelity, and 500 Days of Summer, featuring underdeveloped male leads. Underdeveloped. What I'm remembering about Garden State, 500 Days of Summer, I don't remember much about the romance in High Fidelity right now. But I think High Fidelity, the guy worked in a record store, right? He was a record store manager, John Cusack. And I don't think he was he was passionate about music and, but he didn't want to become a master of the universe. He was content to work in a record store and, around, which was his love of, which reflected his love of music. So it's not like this guy's like a fucking loser who doesn't want to, doesn't want to work, or it doesn't work, or doesn't bring in anything. 500 Days of Summer, boy, there's been lots of ink spilled about that film. There's a lot of feminist hate of that, or it's like there's a lot of feminists who because the movie reverses the tropes. 500 Days of Summer, I'm talking about here. It reverses the trope of the girl who's in love with a guy who wants him to commit to her. Instead, it makes the girl the one who won't commit, who's just looking for a good time, and the guy who wants her to commit to him, but doesn't succeed at getting her to do so. And like the whole feminist line with that movie is, oh, what's wrong with her just wanting a good time? Women can want sex just like men can. Why do women get punished? Why do men watch this movie and think that, and vilify the girl just because she basically used him for sex for a season and then left his ass in the dust, broke his heart. It was toxic of him to fall in love with her and to want her to commit to him. They would never say that in reverse. Never. It would always be, oh, what a jerk. What a commitment phobic jerk. If it were the other way around. Again, girls are always right, boys are always wrong. It's just the way that the propaganda that's fed to us today, including at EV Magazine. Okay, so going on with this, reading this summary. The author attributes this trope to screenwriters' biases, e.g. glorifying struggling creatives in Hollywood, cultural deconstruction of traditional masculinity, post-feminism, and difficulty writing compelling arcs for virtuous characters. It misleads women into valuing drama over compatibility and stunts men by rewarding immaturity over discipline. So this article does the same thing that all of these leftist feminist types are saying. Like, oh, we don't want no broke man. I don't want no broke man. You get your dusty ass on out of here. But this is like a conservative, anti-feminist, pro-traditional femininity journal, and they're finding ways to make the same argument, except they're trying to frame it in ways that sound conservative. Ultimately, the piece calls for rejecting this propaganda, noting mature men can offer both passion and security, leading to healthier relationships. Okay, look, here's the thing about all this. Like, it's true there are a lot of movies where this, really good-looking guy, so this really handsome guy, somebody like the characters in these movies, like it's Chris Evans in Materialists, it's Ryan Gosling in The Notebook, and they don't mention Titanic, but that's another example of where the girl picks the broke guy, Leonardo DiCaprio, over her villainous ex, her villainous fiance, who's just an evil, rich white man. So women go to these movies and they see, passion between the lead, the female lead, who they live through vicariously. Passion between her and between some guy who's like a brooding, passionate, extremely handsome, movie star, handsome kind of guy. In these movies, they do end up rooting for the girl to be with the guy who may not have the money and may not have the status, but is is hot and passionate and loves her more with more sincerely and all that, and it makes them they leave the theater feeling tingly about it all. But here's my question for Evie Magazine, and for anybody else who wants to offer this critique, who wants to say that Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood is pernicious. Hollywood sucks. Hollywood is evil. But in this case, the argument that Hollywood is brainwashing women into rejecting high status, wealthy men for favor of deadbeats and losers. Is that happening in life? If that's brainwash, if that's the way that Hollywood is attempting to brainwash women now, is it successful? Is that what's going on? Is that what's happening right now? With what I call malignant hypergamy amongst the female population. Is that what's happening? Are we really seeing a rash of women opting not to be with wealthy, high status men and choosing instead to be with dirt poor, rootless, unambitious, losers or whatever? Is that really happening? Is that happening? I mean, is that why, I want to meet a man in finance, 6'5", blue eyes? Is that why that's the song that they're all singing now? A guy who's tall, who's rich, who's got blue eyes, who's handsome. Rich guys who are handsome will win out over poor guys who are handsome. In these movies, the poor guys are handsomer, and they also are just like, I don't know, they just have this movie star quality that that gives them this, that gives the women viewers this feeling of this rush of, the romance of it all. In Titanic, Kate Winslet's character chooses to be with DiCaprio's character over Billy Zane. Which woman wouldn't choose Leonardo DiCaprio in his prime over Billy Zane? It's fantasy. This effort, are they really concerned? Is Evie Magazine really concerned that women are getting brainwashed into liking non-high status, non-prosperous men over the alternative? I don't think so. I don't think that's happening, Evie. So why are you writing this article? What's going on here?